Hi again, it's Kathy Baldwin, your host of Unlearn the Crap and Level Up. I'm going to be a little honest. Most of us were taught to make everyone else feel comfortable, even if it kills us slowly. And we call it love, we call it loyalty, but really, it's conditioning. And it does show up in our bodies in migraines, gut issues, exhaustion, and the rage we swallow. My conversation today with Trish Osborne knows this story well. She grew up in foster care, survived sexual abuse, 2 narcissistic marriages, and stage 4 ovarian cancer. And yet, she still found a way to unlearn her crap and find herself back to herself. She calls healing a gift, not a chore. This episode isn't about blaming the past. It's about unlearning the perfectionism and people pleasing that keep you sick and small. If you've ever felt like you had to hold it all together while you were falling apart inside, stay with me because this conversation just might crack something open. Let's get started.
Welcome to Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Unlearn the Crap TV is more than just a show. It's a movement towards breaking free from the disempowering structures designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's about education, healing, and unlearning the detrimental beliefs that have been ingrained in society for generations. So now, please welcome the host of Unlearn the Crap TV, Kathy Baldwin.
Welcome to another episode of Unlearn the Crap and Level Up. Your soul is calling. I'm your host, Kathy Baldwin. And here on this podcast, we discuss all of the crap that we have to deal with. Crap is a conditioned response and automatic programming. It is what happens when our thoughts and our beliefs dictate our behaviors and our results. It's also the physical manifestation of those thoughts and feelings and beliefs. It's the physical manifestation of our ancestral traumas because our thoughts also are chemicals and hormones. And if we do not release them, if we suppress them, we are going to create physical disease with inflammation, changing our gut microbiome, because everything is both energetic and physical. And on Unlearn the Crap, we talk about the interconnected, interrelated systems that we are as human beings, and the interconnected, interrelated system that we live within. Today's guest is a really special one for me. Her name is Trish Osborne, but what makes her really special is she lives very close to me. Her and I connected energetically on social media. We felt a calling to get to know each other. And as we began to get to know each other woman to woman, I invited Trish to come on the show. Not because Trish was looking to create visibility or promote anything, just because she is emerging into the best version of herself. And I believe her story is something you're going to want to hear. Thank you for joining me today, Trish.
Thank you so much. It's very appreciated to be here for sure. I'm
very my pleasure.
Yes.
So you heard my definition of crap, and yes. I do believe that you have read my books. So
I've read one. I've read the one about you. I'm saving the other one for this week when I leave for Arizona.
Beautiful. So knowing that, what crap have you had to unlearn so you could level up?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. First off, there's a lot that I had to learn. My main thing is perfectionist. Growing up, everything had to be perfect. My room had to be perfect. The bed had to be perfect. I had to look perfect. But what was in that home was not perfect. I grew up, unfortunately, my parents split up when I was 7. So my dad put the 6 of us I come from a family of 9. So 6 of us were put in foster care. And it wasn't the greatest life. But I don't look at it as a regret. I look at it as a stepping stone. I did look at it regret, and I there was a lot of hate back the old Trish. But now, no, I kind of have forgiven, and that's one of the biggest things too. So perfection was a huge, huge thing for me. Everything up until maybe probably the last 5 years, because that's when I started my healing journey, was 2019. So I allowed things to, I don't want to say slip, but not be so perfect, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that, and I can't wait to unpack your story, because your story is very, very powerful. But before we go there, could you tell us and tell the audience, who is Trish and how do you serve the world now that you've leveled up and unlearned your crap?
I am a certified life coach with the niche of trauma-informed, helping women deal with their past. And I like to use the word obstacles instead, to level that up, if you want to say, to show them that there is life outside. Healing is an everyday occurrence. It's a lifetime I've come to embrace. So I want to show them the goals, letting them live a purposeful life, confidence, for them to see that there is light at the end of that tunnel. We all have big T's and little T's, and I want to be able to conquer them with them. And I believe helping the women and the women of today, that we can all work as a community and help one another, which will reflect into our children and then our grandchildren. And we can stop the generational trauma. That's where I use the trauma, because we have all been born with it. We all have it, and we need to stop it. And I vowed that I would do that. And I feel I have done it with my boys, only in the past 5 years though. And they're a lot older now, but forgiveness was a big thing.
I love this. I absolutely love this. Let's deal with the elephant in the room before we get into a deep conversation here. That was the question that I asked you before we started to record, which was, I asked you how you were feeling about being on the podcast. I know that you have not been doing a lot of speaking engagements, so this is a new adventure for you. Could you please tell us in the audience, because your answer was so beautiful and so raw, that I just want everyone to know.
I am nervous. I deal with a lot of different crystals, so I even have a smoky quartz in my left hand, because I don't speak a lot. There's some words that I can't pronounce properly, and I've now owned that. So I would shy away from doing any sort of speaking, because I felt that I wasn't smart enough and that I couldn't do it. So once again, it's my perfectionist coming out. But this is allowing me to get out. Like I said just a few minutes ago, I am nervous. But that's what makes the universe is opening that up for me. And the universe is saying, you need to do it. Where my brain was saying and trying to keep me safe, just don't do it, make up an excuse. And that's what I used to do. The old Trish used to be like, oh, can't do it. I'm not feeling well. And I would put it off. And nope, up until like a minute before hitting that button, I was like, maybe I could get out of it. No, the universe is pushing me. And my spirit guides, they're right there with me too. So here I am.
I love it, and I'm honored that you're here with me, and I love your honesty and your vulnerability.
Thank you.
You just gave me the perfect segue for how I want to talk about this conversation. Could you tell us and introduce us to your spirit guides, please?
My spirit guides, one is my mother. I lost my mother when I was 29. So she's been gone 30 years now. Do the math, you'll know how old I'm turning. And I'm fine with that. My other spirit guide, she's right behind me. She is my husband, Murray. That's his wife. She was killed in a car accident in 2007. Mara's a special lady. She guided me to Murray, and because she didn't want Murray to be alone. She's, like I said, she's been gone since 2007, and we met in 2008, and we've been together ever since. And I think one of the reasons she didn't want him to be alone is because she knew he couldn't cook. So she was worried probably about him, eating out all the time. But I think she wanted somebody to fill that void for him. And I honor Mar every day. I never met her. I knew Murray in high school because we grew up in a small town. But I didn't know who Mar was. But I do know now. And she is a part of our life. We honor her every October 6th. We go to a local pub that they frequent all the time, and we toast her, and we make sure. In fact, I'm just doing her flowers for her gravesite. We get that ready before the May long weekend and put it out there for her. She was a very special lady, and she guides us. So she's always around us.
How do you know that it's her?
I don't want to say I've seen her, but I've seen her, if that makes any sense. I feel her. She talks to him. And I've gone to mediums who have said, she's right beside you. And she was a feisty woman. She was a school teacher for special needs in Toronto. She became teacher of the year like twice. They never had children. So having my 3 boys introducing at teenagers was a big thing, but they've all accepted him. They love him to death, like a bonus dad. So I feel her mainly. I'm sitting in our kitchen right now. And the reason why I did that is because she loves this kitchen. So I kind of needed her beside me to help me through this interview, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. I always talk about, I've got my divine team, and we've had other angel guests on the show who are experts in angels and guides. And so
Yes.
I really want to be able to demystify the connection with the spirit world, especially yours is so unique. There's a lot of people who would feel some sort of jealousy to a previous love. And you're not only not jealous of the previous love, but you've invited her into your heart and your home and your inner sanctuary, and you lean on her for her wisdom and her guidance. And I just find that so amazingly beautiful and powerful. And I really wanted you to talk about that because I wanted people who are listening to see that we don't need to be afraid of.
No, we don't. Yeah. She was taken from this earth. Obviously, it was her time, for a reason that Murray and I are, to be brought together, to live a happy life, because that's what she wanted for him. She will always be a part of us. I don't know how people can be jealous, and I say that because one of her friend was driving, and unfortunately she passed as well too. It was a car accident. It was Thanksgiving weekend. It's our Canadian Thanksgiving weekend. But yeah, so unfortunately there are people out there that is jealous, but I've always said, how can you be jealous of a person that's passed? It's not like it's an ex. Like I have an ex, so Murray could be jealous of that person, but he's not, because that's just the person he is. But I can understand people being jealous of exes or whatever, because they're still kind of here on this earth, where Mar isn't. and she never will walk
Yeah.
this earth again.
Well,
So
jealousy comes in the form of feeling that something is being taken away from us.
yes,
And so if people are struggling with jealousy, it's usually because their needs are not being met. And so they resent that energy or those feelings or whatever the issue is that's causing that feeling
yeah,
um, to blame that avenue of where that energy is going.
exactly. And I've had nothing but great energy in this home. This was their home, and she's allowed me into this home to do what I want in this home, if that makes any sense. But her gardens are still a part of us, and certain things in this house are still will always be a part of her as well. Now my mom is here too, like, and I feel my mom an awful lot, right? So yeah, Mars, she's a unique woman, and we're a threesome, if people want to say, and that's how we laugh about it. And some people kind of, you know, shake their heads at us, but it is what it is, and if you can't accept it, move on. And that's the way I'm looking. That's the way I'm looking at life now. I've lost a few, well, what I thought was close friends because of my journey, because of opening up my energy and making myself more vulnerable and making myself speak out more. And I had a friend that was over 30 some odd years, and we've walked away. It's been almost 2 years, but I'm okay with it because I chose that, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. You go
Thank
through
you for Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's not something that a lot of people talk about. When we're on a spiritual journey, when we're on our healing journey, when we are evolving and we're growing, there will be a lot of relationships that break apart and fall because they no longer fit with the
yes,
version of us. And if people aren't evolving to stay within that energetic circle, they will fall off. And so many times people use that as a sign that says, oh, I shouldn't go forward. When actuality, that is a sign that you are going forward.
mm-hmm. Yes. Like I said earlier, I come from a family of 9. The oldest brother is passed on with cancer. I'm the second youngest of 9. I talk to 2 sisters because I choose to. I choose to set up healthy boundaries. There's a lot of toxic relationships in my siblings, and I don't want that energy around me. I want the positive energy. I want the encouragement energy. I don't want the ones that they feel the need to still live back in the 70s. We are now 2025. I don't want them still blaming my one parent that's alive, my dad. He wasn't a dad, but you still don't steal from your parents. And unfortunately, some did. So I choose not to be a part of that anymore. And that was a decision I made probably 2 years ago as well, too. So from 2019 to now, there's been a lot happening, and it's been great. I've been away from a family member, a sister that was very close to me, and her daughter, which is a niece, which I call her a niester, kind of like a sister to me, because we're only 7, 8 years apart. And I didn't talk to them for 15 years because of one thing that another sister said, and I believe that sister. And that was a wrong thing to do, but I picked up the phone finally because my healing journey in that, and now it's blown up, and we live an hour away from each other. We see each other. They're actually taking our dog that we have for when we head to Arizona. So it's a good thing. And you have to look at that too. You have to look at, I always look at when there's a bad thing happening, and that was my upbringing. I knew there was light at the end of that tunnel getting out of that home, because it wasn't a good home.
Okay, so you've touched on this a couple of times. Could you give us an idea of what your home life was like and what led to you being put into foster care.
Yeah, sure. I have no problem. My parents, like I said, were married. I'm second youngest of 9. My mom had a nervous breakdown. I can now understand why, because my dad was out running around, drinking and with other women and that. And my mom had just lost one of her sisters. She started having kids from 25 until she was 41. I couldn't even, I couldn't imagine. My dad wanted a ball team, so there's 9 of us. But then when my mom had the nervous breakdown, he put her in the mental institution in Toronto. He revoked my mom's nursing license. She was a nurse at the time, because in the 70s, men had power. Well, men still have power, but not as much right now. And he put the 3 older ones were already kind of on their own. So the 6 of us, he put us all into foster care. And then out of those 6, 5 of us went into a group home. 1 stayed in Toronto. And in that group home, the father was not very nice, and neither was their son. They would drug us and they would sexually abuse us. And then they would make up excuses that didn't happen. It happened probably twice to me. And they would put it in orange pop. And to this day, I still don't drink orange pop because it's probably a trigger and it's something I have to get over. And I'm learning the triggers are for a reason, to get through them. And I would end up giving that to my brother so he would pass out, because they were in the basement. So, because we shared a room, there was 3 of us in a room. And I wanted to charge them. After I left, I was always a feisty person. They wanted us to call them mom and dad. And I thought, they're not my mom and dad. And you could never, back in the late 70s, early 80s, they conditioned us. They brainwashed us. They said that we would never amount to anything. We would get home from off the bus, because we lived out in the country, and you'd change into your clothes and right away you were starting to work. You got $2.25 for an allowance. And you worked hard, like it was hard. So we were probably their slaves, if you want to say, if I can use that term. And just, it was, we had some good times, but I reflect more on the negative times, but it brought me to who I am today. And I confronted them years later after I left. I finally found out where they were. The woman, the mother, had passed away from cancer, but he was still around, and I confronted him, and he was afraid. And like I said, I wanted to go, but I had nobody to back me up. My 2 sisters wouldn't back me up. And they're like, being a group home, you had other people in there. So we were told to lie. We were told that we were all cousins. We weren't told to, like, the lying after lie after lie. It was terrible, because you get on the bus and they're like, oh, who's this? Oh, that's my 3rd cousin. And so it was, it wasn't the greatest. I finally left at 17 to the friend that, well, I thought she was a friend, probably was at the beginning, that I knew for 30 years. And she took me in. So that was nice. And then my life went on. I ended up getting pregnant when I was 20. He'll be 38. I have 3 boys, 38, almost a 32-year-old and a 31-year-old. I was married just briefly the first time for only a couple of years. Kevin and I became better friends than we were husband and wife, because we were both too young. But and I just wanted somebody to love me.
And
So
that is something that happens to so many people, men and women, when we come from a dysfunctional or a environment that doesn't meet our needs. Is our society has conditioned us that you can find the utopia within love and marriage and family. Everything is happily ever after once you walk down the aisle and say, I do. So it makes perfect sense that that's how you would choose to assert your desire to live a good, strong, healthy life, because that's what we were told. But you had to unlearn that fantasy too, I guess.
And that you can't change people, because I thought I could change him. I'm 20.
Oh.
I know everything.
Oh, because we fall in love with potential as people. You know, we
Yes.
fall in love with the idea, the dream, the potential, the what ifs, the maybes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I was married for 10 years with him. My second one was with him for 15, but that's where he's a narcissist, clear. And it took me a while to leave, because once again, you're conditioned. You're told that nobody's ever going to want you. You have 3 kids and you're failing a second marriage, and it wasn't the greatest. And that's where I finally stood up for myself and left. And it was hard. It's not easy for women. I'm not.
What
Sorry.
what was the narcissistic tendencies that came out in your marriage? And the reason I ask this question is I really want your story to help shed light on those people who are in these relationships and they know they're not happy, but they aren't able to articulate the dysfunction.
So he was not a drinker, so that's what attracted me to him, because my first marriage, he was an alcoholic.
Just like your dad.
Yeah. Yes, it's a pattern. And until you can break that pattern and find somebody that's not on your pattern, you're not going to change your life. But yes, so then we had, the 2 boys, and then I thought I was stuck, because I'm like, I was working and had a good full-time job. So did he. But he wanted me a certain way. I had to be, now I'm going to use my maiden name because I don't want to give his last name out. So I had to be, I had to be the Trish he wanted. He'd come home, dinner had to be on the table at 5 o'clock. Then he'd get up, and he was younger than me. He was 4 years younger than me. So, and then he'd get up from the table, sit down on the couch. His tea was there with two cookies. I didn't visit my family much because his family was more important. So when it was Christmas time, it was his way, and I had to dress a certain way. So I didn't want to dress that way. I wanted to be my own person, but I didn't know how to speak about it or articulate it about it or say what really I felt, because if I ever said that, he would get mad, and then it would be ignoring. We even had a pet dog, and the dog wasn't even allowed. He was allowed up the stairs on the landing, and like everything was controlled. And there was times I would stand up for myself, but I was ducking because there was plates flying by me. So there was,
You mean literal?
Literally. And the worst thing about it is I thought I hid it. I thought I hid it from my boys until 2019, like through these last 6 years or whatever, that we've sat and talked, and they came out and said, no, we heard it all. And then my heart broke, because I'm like, oh God, what have I done now? What have I given them for their children, future children? My oldest has a son. I have a 13-year-old grandson, and we have now a 6-month-old grandson. I'm just convinced I'm just going to have boys. I'm a boy mom and grandma. But we're going to stop that generational trauma. And that is my goal now, is to do that, and apologizing to them for putting them in that situation, But yeah, that was a narcissist in him. And to this day, he still won't take accountability. I wasn't perfect either. I probably didn't tell him a lot of things because I was probably afraid to. But maybe if I would have been honest with him, we tried counseling. When I finally said I was leaving, one of the worst things, he turned to me and he said, we're 8 years away of being mortgage free. And I went, that's what you're worried about? Like us? You're not worried about us? So, yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. I have 2 divorces, but 3rd time's a charm. And
one of the things that you said, I want to circle back on, because it was really profound. And I know you read my story when you read my book, How I Unlearned My Crap. I was not taught about boundaries. I was not taught about how to say no. Everything I was taught was how to make everybody around me happy and comfortable. And my role was to make sure that the environment of everybody who came in contact with me was that their needs mattered and they were happy. And so for me, those boundaries, I did not know until I was in my 50s that I had no boundaries, and I'd never been taught. And that's why, because I used to say, why does this stuff keep happening to me over and over again? Yeah. When did you realize that you either didn't have boundaries or you weren't honoring and protecting them?
Probably 2019 when I started the journey. And that was close to being in my 50s as well, too, because I'll be 59 this year, right? So, yeah, I was in my 50s. But, yeah, it was an eye-opener. And it's true. We've been so conditioned as women that, you're in the kitchen, you always feed, you look after everybody, like we would sit down for dinner and he needed something, it was me getting up, or the kids needed something, it was me getting up. So having a hot meal, nowadays, no, I'm having my hot meal. If you need something, get up, mind you, they're grown now, but I mean, it is what it is. I ate a lot of cold meals, even when I worked, because I would work in the evening. So dinner had to be made ahead of time, fold it and put onto the stove. So all he had to do was heat it up. Yeah, it was. I know. When I tell people, they're like, what? Yeah, the house had to be just so. But that's me. I'm a cleaner by trade anyway. So I love a clean home. But I allow the perfection, I'll go back to that, to level out, like relax a bit. I don't have to be so neat and tidy. Like, you don't have to have a room roped off. Every room's going to be locked, but that's how I was. And I don't want to be that way anymore.
And you took it upon yourself to declare this. It doesn't matter who I was in the past. It doesn't matter the choices that I made or what I knew or did not know. Today, I am making a different choice. Today, I'm declaring my sovereignty. Today, I'm declaring that I will have self-respect. And this is one of the major reasons that I wanted you in this conversation, because your life, your choices, your experience shows that at any point in our lives, it doesn't matter how far along we've gone, we can put the brakes on and we can take ownership for who we are and what our results are and live our own lives.
Yes. 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. And that was my turning point. And I had been with Murray since 2008. It was great. We had a great relationship, but I still carried baggage. I didn't unlock and unclaim or unlearn my truth, if you want to say, or crap, as you put it. But it was 2019 that really brought us together. Yeah, it was stage 4, but I give thanks to Princess Margaret for saving my life and the trial drugs that I went on. It was, it knocks you down. It gives you a different perspective of life, if you want to say. It was an eye opener. He stood by me because he knew there was something more deep in there. But leading up to that, I thought, I have Murray. Nobody else, will be together forever. But I didn't realize I was slowly destroying that relationship too, because of my drinking. I was drinking a 60-ouncer a week on top of pop. And I was masking stuff because I didn't want to be open and honest about myself. I didn't want to look in that mirror. So I thought, I'm functional. I can still get up. I can still hold a job. I can still do all that. But he kept quiet about it too. He said things the odd time, but I wouldn't listen to him and it wasn't until we went to Princess Margaret and we had to fill out forms and I was too sick. So he filled them out and we're sitting in the office and the surgeon looked at me and she went, you have how many drinks at night? 7 or 8? I went, no. And I shot him a look like, what are you doing? But I needed that. I needed that wake-up call. I needed that, you need to smarten up because you've got the best. And it was probably Mara in the back of my head saying, you got the best thing, smarten up. And I didn't realize it until about 3 weeks into it, because my operation I had, we were coming back from friends. And I remember I turned to him and it was something that overcame me. It was like my mom and Mara were right with me. And I just looked at him in the car and I went, I know why I got cancer. And he's like, why? And I said, they're not going to take me. They just want me to smarten up and stop my drinking and that. And I haven't touched rum since. And I would never allow negativity to come through the door. You can only come in our house with positive, it wasn't touch and go or anything, but I mean, cancer's not. But cancer is a disease that, and I've learned from your book and I've learned from other people talking, it's a sickness because we have to deal with something else in our life and face that. And I had to face that. And it brought me to crystal healing, to understanding my chakras, to human design, like so many different things just kept opening up for me. And now this, and I took the coaching and look at me today sitting on a podcast. So I thank that.
Yeah. One of the things that I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast was that there is a direct correlation between our energetic thoughts, feelings, and what happens physically. For me, I had a full hysterectomy after having multiple cysts and fibroids, and everything was held within my uterus or my whole reproductive system. And, every trauma, every attack, but it was also when I did the emotion code on my healing, I found out that I had, if I remember correctly, 426 trapped emotions of self-abuse. And that self-abuse, when I dug to the root cause, was every time I self-sabotaged, every time I self-betrayed, every time I didn't hold my own word and my own boundaries, every time I let myself down and put everything and everyone else before me. Do you see a connection between the trauma that you had as a child, the sexual abuse that you endured, and the fact that your cancer showed up in your reproductive area?
Oh, immensely. It was actually when I read your book and you talked about the DNA and all that stuff and everything, the trauma and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, a light went off and I went, yeah, that's exactly. It's so much. That's why I knew I wasn't going to die from cancer. And I'm sorry to say that there are people that do, and it is very sad, but that's a pathway in their lifestyle, or not lifestyle, their life journey. My journey wasn't done yet, and it's still not done yet. So I knew I had to heal from that. And healing is a daily, it's not, I don't look at it as a chore. I look at it as a gift. Every day is a gift for me. So
I love that. Because I was just about to say that a healing journey is very much to me like doing the dishes or the laundry. You may do it for the day, but there's going to be some more tomorrow. It's just
because you're never done.
Yeah, but exactly. I was going to say that sounded like a chore or a duty. The way you put it as a gift is much more beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it really is, because every day I'm on this earth, and although I'm just starting my coaching venture and all that, my people are going to come to me because I'm going to be authentic. I'm not going to be, make 10K in a month, and that I don't want that. I want authentic, raw women that need to heal. and we'll heal together.
So again, I would not believe that you are not a polished interview for a podcast, because you are segueing every conversation so beautifully to the next topic, which brings me to, how did you pivot? Because so many of us come to a place in our lives where we've been heading on one path for so long, it becomes our identity. But there are so many people, especially women, who hit this midlife time where we've done Act 1 and Act 2, and we're coming into Act 3. And who we were no longer fits who we are and who we're becoming. And so that pivot is a gift. It's a choice. And you did it so beautifully. What was your pivot journey into whatever career you were before, into coming into life coaching, especially a trauma informed life coach?
I worked in the corporate world, and currently right now I do have my own cleaning business because it helps me with my OCD. So that's a good thing. I work
So you found a healthy outlet.
Yeah.
What, I love that. I love that.
I don't need meds. I just go and clean. I have wonderful clients. I work part-time because it's something that Murray and he insists on it. And I love that about him, which allows me, because my bones aren't as good as what they were, but that's chemo for you. And that's where I had a calling. It usually comes in my dreams, and I wake up, and I am a very early riser. So I like to do my meditations and all that. And I zeroed in, and I do a meditation. Right behind me is our front living room. And like I said, there's a picture of Mar behind me. So I have a picture of my mom on the stand that I sit beside. So I call them in to help me and I knew there was something that I was missing, and it was coaching. And one of my clients was a life coach, and high ticket life coach she was. Beautiful woman. She's now moved, unfortunately, but we keep in touch. And she's like, I think that's your calling. And I think that was a sign I needed to hear, not just from my spirits guides, not just from that. And I took the crystal healing course, and I thought, it's not me, but I love crystals, but I don't think I can make that the career, but I can incorporate it into my healing.
I have a quick question before you continue with this story.
Yeah.
Was she the first sign that said to you that you should consider life coaching, or was she the final one?
I think she was the final one, because I kept hearing voices. I went to a medium, and she was one that says, you need to get your story out. You've got to write a book or something, get that story out. And I thought, no one's going to want to hear my story, because there's so many people that have my story. And it wasn't until recently that when we connected, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many of us that could help one another. And I needed to get that out. And now I'm working with, so having saying that and having my meditation and validating that, I reached out to also somebody that lives not far from me. She lives in Barrie, and she's my business coach. And that's how me and you met, was through her teaching me, reaching out to people on Facebook and that. And I mean, Facebook, I know a lot of people can say a lot of bad things about, but it's like, but you choose to have that on your Facebook. If you choose positivity and have the proper people in your community, you can do wonders on Facebook, and it's proven.
Yeah, any social media, any extension of the environments and communities we create are a direct reflection of what we are feeling and experiencing on the inside. So if we're getting mirrored back negativity, it's because that's what we're attracting, and it's a really good mirror. But I thank you for answering the question about that. You were getting the whispers and the signs. because so many times when people have these inklings, they go, oh no, not me. That's not who I am. And we are in a time right now where we are all being called forward to level up, to cut the ties of our traumas, to step into our authentic zone of genius, to own our next evolution and our next stage. And you took the calling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm happy I did. It doesn't happen overnight. And I know that, but it will happen. I will find my people, and that's what I call it, my people, because I will empower this earth to stop the generational trauma, to empower women to stand up to narcissist men, and live a life that you want to live true by setting goals, just weekly goals. Just sometimes you just have to set a goal for a week, and that's where I kind of want to start bringing women into that. And I believe in that. And do I want to help men? Well, I will when I help the women that will help the men in their lives, right? So that's how I look at it.
I love that. I love that perspective. Okay, so I'm going to switch the conversation just because it's come up a couple of times in this conversation. You read my How I Unlearned My Crap. What did you get out of the book? Because it was a deeply vulnerable book. And I'll be honest, when I wrote the book, I was teetering between, am I oversharing or am I undersharing? Is there value in me sharing these stories? Am I trauma vomiting? Am I there was a whole process. I mean, that book took me a year to write. It was long and it was painful. But my whole purpose of the book was to show the connections between our causes and our effects, our connections to universal laws, to open the doors for awakening and inspiration and thoughts that tie healings together for the readers. So on a personal level, Trish, could you honestly tell me what you got out of the book?
Well, first off, I loved it. I think everyone should run out and get it because it's something that, and second of all, if I could, after I just finished it, all I wanted to do was hug you because of what you went through, and who you are today. What an inspiration, a mentor that you could be, that you are. It was cause and effect, but how you presented it in the book, how you honored your parents on the trauma that you went through, and you still honored them, even though, and it gave me a look at, that's how I have to do with my dad. That forgiveness is a big thing. I love the universal laws. I never knew about them. It's something I tagged in the book that I'm definitely going back and wanting to learn more about it. I love how you end it, your different point forms in there, and you left certain members of your family private because that's what they wanted. I loved how each chapter you went through, it was like just storytelling. It was so easy to read. It was so amazing to walk, to have kind of like walk in your shoes and to learn a little bit more about you. It was outstanding.
Oh, thank you so very much for those kind words. What did you get out of it for your journey?
My journey was learning those universal laws. I tagged a few things in there. Understanding that we all have a past. Your parents, on what they went through, your mother, your grandmother, your Christmases, your traditions. And it was, I really felt for you at certain times, but I also know, reading that, of how strong you were to write that, because you had to be quite open and vulnerable to be writing deepness, and it was raw. It was very raw. Yeah.
It was. So, other than the universal laws, did it spark any connection for you that created a healing, a epiphany, a anything that made a difference for your
Yeah.
own personal life?
Yeah, it did. What made the difference was knowing that I it gave me the confidence, first off, to be on here. It gave me the confidence to go, I can be a coach. I can do this. Even though the past I had and being told, you're not going to amount to anything, you're not going to do anything. I can do this. So it's given me a bit of more confidence.
I love that.
If
I love
anything, I think I'm more drawn to those type of books to give me that confidence to go, and you know what? If she can do it, so can I.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Trish, I've been looking forward to this conversation. Like I said, when you and I first met and we had our first initial conversation, just getting to know each other, your story blew me away. And I can't wait to help be part of your journey of bridging your genius and your learnings and your expertise and your heart and all of the gifts that you have into helping others with their own journey, because I believe that we live in a world love like the relay race, that's what it's called, where we pass the baton, right? And
that's a good one.
So as we go through this journey of life, we always are passing the baton forward and backward and helping each other in this collaboration. Now that you have gone through this journey, now that you are pivoting into your zone of genius and taking your lifetime of experience and gifts, I know we've touched on it a little, but who are you serving? How are you serving the world? And how can people find you?
Well, once again, I'm very active on Facebook. I have my personal Facebook group, but I also have my business, which is called Your Healing Journey, and it's Trish Osborne Baylor, just the way it was hyphened, so it came that way. And my last name is spelled not the way it sounds. Osborne is my last name, but my maiden name is Baylor, and it's Boehler. So it's spelt differently than how it's said differently and how it's spelt. You can also email me at trishosborne55@gmail.com. I also have a private group that I only have women that come in to that, and I have different theme days and that, and just to get to know people and understand people, and I'm under construction for my website and working with my business coach too with my Instagram. So I do have Instagram, but I'm not on it very much. So that's kind of like where people can reach me, women that can reach me. And I just, reach out, and I'm offering always the first session is always free, just to talk and to find if we're, the energy is there for us. And I go a lot about the energy, and yeah, you can, and even looking at somebody, you have that energy. I didn't ever believe it, that you could have the energy online. But you can. Yeah. I was proven wrong. Like, I feel this energy. My nerves are totally gone, have been gone for probably the last 45 minutes. Because it just seemed like I was talking to Kathy again, like it's just like, it's Kathy. So I'm okay. And it's just that calmness. And so, yeah, that's what I want to help women do is, I want to take my experience, share it with people, and make them realize that you can change. You can get out of that abusive relationship. I will find avenues for you. And if I can't help you, I will find somebody that can. Because not all coaches can be psychologists or psychiatrists. Like, there's a need for everyone. And we need to group that all together and be one, not pin against each other. Yeah.
Again, you were a beautiful segue, because my question was just about to be, what final message do you want to make sure that everyone gets? And so you did it absolutely beautifully.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Trish, so much.
Thank you.
I cannot recommend you high enough. Your beauty of spirit and integrity and heart and soul shine way bigger than your physical footprint in this world. And I know that you are following your path and you are being guided and led, and you are going to make a difference in women's lives. And I already know that you've done that through this conversation. Thank you so much for your raw, honest account of what you've gone through. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. You have no idea. I'm walking on cloud 9.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Unlearn the Crap. We have had the pleasure of having Trish Osborne, and I highly encourage you to check out the show notes, reach out to Trish, and of course, check out the book, How I Unlearned My Crap. Yes. Until next time, keep continuing to challenge everything, question everything, because then you can accomplish anything. Until next time, thank you. I'm Kathy Baldwin. Thank you for listening to the Unlearn the Crap and Level Up podcast. If this conversation spoke to you, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and leave a review. That simple act helps amplify this important work of unlearning the crap that holds us back. This show is built on the foundation of my 3 books. Unlearn the Crap and Level Up Your Soul is Calling, a roadmap to release what no longer serves you. How I Unlearned My Crap, which is my raw story of breaking free and the patterns that I needed to unlearn. And the 3rd book, The Unlearned Life, an AI-powered ritual system for truth transformation and personal empower. If you're a podcaster or you want to be, this is for you, because 85% of podcasts fail, not because of the message isn't powerful enough, but because the back end can be overwhelming. I created the Finally Podcast automation system so your voice doesn't become a statistic. Your message is too important to be silenced by burnout, tech chaos, or even wasted time. My mission is to support not only my guests and you, the audience, but also every podcaster who's ready to level up. So until next time, keep unlearning, keep leveling up,